you need to make sure that you're aligning with the right people, you're getting advice from the right people, and you have the right people in your corner. And that is going to make all the difference in getting to where you want to go. Sometimes you may know exactly where you want your business to be, but you have no idea how to accomplish it. And that's much harder. You're not prioritizing the right things. So instead of saying, this is my goal and this is my objective and this is the number one priority, you're saying yes to a whole bunch of other things. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, and today we are going to be talking about 5 reasons that you are struggling. Now, we are headed into the new year, and I know many people are setting resolutions and goals. I'm sitting down and talking about 2025 goals with all of my clients, and I know that we have big things happening, but these 5 reasons are going to be things that are going to make you struggle in accomplishing those goals or just struggle in general in your business. Now, before we get into the episode, please go over to Cheer Gym Owners on Facebook and join that group, and All-Star Cheer coaches and owners as well, to make sure you are in both of our groups. You're not missing out on any of the great conversations. Believe it or not, many of these episodes are inspired by conversations that happen in those groups or questions that are asked. So I appreciate everyone who is in there posting, asking questions, and helping me come up with more great content for you. Like I said, we're headed into 2025, or we're already in it if you're listening, and people are setting goals and they have their annual goals, or they're looking at their first quarter, or maybe they're setting personal goals, things like that. These are all things that we are trying to accomplish. It's a new year. It's a new opportunity to hit the reset button and do a little bit better. And I want to talk about 5 reasons that you're struggling to accomplish those goals. 5 things that are oftentimes holding you back from getting to where you want to go. Number 1 is you are distracted. You have a goal, but you have things that are distracting you from accomplishing your goal. You are more productive if you are single-mindedly focused on one particular thing. And we have a world where everything is competing for our attention. You carry a little device in your pocket that constantly says, pay attention to me, look at me, give me attention. You have multiple tabs open in your browser. You have email, you have Facebook, you have all of these different things that want your eyeballs, and they want your eyeballs for monetary reasons. So when you're looking at like email and Facebook and those things, they want your eyeballs because the more you're looking at it, the more they can sell advertising to businesses and other people. So they want you to pay attention, and your phone wants to get you to pay attention because it wants to be valuable to you. And people who are texting you want you to pay attention because they need something from you. And so it's very, very easy to become distracted and not focused on your goal. And so you need to find ways to carve out the focus time you need. And oftentimes things need a lot more time than you realize, but start small. So for instance, utilize some of the tools that exist to help you not be distracted. 1, if at all possible, operate in one tab or 2 or 3 tabs that you must have open to do a thing. So maybe you have an Excel spreadsheet here and something else on this other screen, and you're using those 2 screens together, but have everything else closed. And then take your phone and turn it on Do Not Disturb. You can actually set your calendar to automatically put your information all on Do Not Disturb. So you can have your phone and your computer and everything auto go to Do Not Disturb if you have your calendar set up that way. So when you're using your Google Calendar, make sure you have it set to auto Do Not Disturb. And then you can really focus on that thing. I always get more done when I have my phone on Do Not Disturb because it's not vibrating, or if it's like not even with me, that helps. But like I work on a Mac, and so I still get text message notifications on my Mac. Also, turn off all your notifications, right? Just get rid of all of them. Make a schedule to go in and check those things. Go in and check your text messages, go in and check your emails. Like you can do that. You can turn off every app's notifications on your phone, on your computer, all those things. And then you're not going to have that distraction. Again, keeping tabs closed, work in a closed room, listen to music or wear earplugs, block out exterior distractions, don't have Netflix or things on in the background. I'm not a big fan of that. I know there are some people who really love to have their TV on in the background while they're working. And maybe there are some things you can do, like menial tasks where you can do something like that. But generally speaking, that's just a distraction. Music, I don't find as distracting. White noise isn't really distracting to you because it's not pulling your attention. But like having your phone out and notifications on, I don't know if you guys are like this, but if my phone is out and it vibrates, I instinctively glance. I'm going to look and I'll look and oh, it's a ring notification. All right. Someone knocking on my front door. Those things are all pulling away your attention. And those are just little micro transactions of time taken away from you. So you've got to eliminate distraction. And those distractions are what are keeping you from your goals and keeping you struggling. Number 2 is you don't know where you're going. You're struggling because you don't know where you're trying to get. You don't have clear objectives. You don't have clear goals. You don't have a clear destination in mind. And I'm kind of mixed. I'm 50-50 on like truly like old school goal setting, but I think it's really important to like have a like, this is where I want to go. In my gym, we talk about like revenue goals and what we're trying, we want to get to X revenue next year. We want to get to X number of enrollments next year. We want to get to this. Now, ultimately, if you set something like a revenue goal, that will oftentimes have a trickle down effect on everything else, right? If I know I want to make X amount of dollars, then I know based off my current pricing, I need to have this many enrollments. And maybe that tells me I need to raise my price. Oftentimes that's a really, really good one, is setting an overarching revenue goal as a business. And then you kind of know where you're going. And then once you know where you're going, or if you know where you're going, the next issue people have is they don't know how to get there. And this is one that is really hard, because sometimes you may know exactly where you want your business to be, but you have no idea how to accomplish it. And that's much harder. And oftentimes you're going to have to find someone who has been there, who does know, who has the roadmap for you to get you to that place. Or you're going to have to read books. You're going to have to learn the information for yourself. Again, you're getting that information from someone else to get to that destination. Otherwise, you're going to be finding the path yourself. And can you do it? Sure, you can. It's just a lot harder and it generally takes a lot longer. So not knowing where you're going is number 2 really on my list. And then number 3 is not knowing how to get there, not having a clear path of how to accomplish that thing, which means even though you may know where you need to go, you may end up working backwards. You may go the wrong way and do the wrong thing for like 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year, and then realize, oops, that actually took me further from where I wanted to be because I thought this was the right answer and it wasn't. So this is why oftentimes you hear me talk, and yes, I run a consulting company, but like if you are struggling, get help, get a coach, get someone who can help you through those things. That is literally the difference maker. It makes such a huge difference. And I find it actually humorous that it's so hard to sell cheer gym owners on the fact that they might need a business coach when what you're selling is coaching people on how to tumble and how to do cheerleading. And arguably, cheerleading and tumbling is easier than running a company with multiple employees that is successful and profitable. Number 4 is that you have the wrong priorities, which means you are not putting the right thing first. So you're not necessarily distracted, and you do know where you're going, and you kind of know how to get there, but you're not prioritizing the right things. So instead of saying, this is my goal and this is my objective and this is the number 1 priority, you're saying yes to a whole bunch of other things. So I know that I want to get to X amount of revenue, but instead of focusing on the things that I'm doing really well and doing those better and making more money, I'm going to start a new program. Well, you're not prioritizing the right thing. What you're doing is you're prioritizing the wrong thing. Or I know I really want to run this successful gym. I want to do all those things, but I'm going to prioritize traveling the world and relaxing and doing all these other things. Well, that doesn't mean that that's a bad thing to do. It just doesn't align with what you're saying your goals are. And so it's why you're struggling. You have to make sure that your priorities are correct. And you've got to say yes to the things that align with your priorities and no to the things that don't. And by doing that, you are going to be less likely to struggle and more likely to achieve your ultimate goal. Now, the last reason that you might be struggling is that you have the wrong people. We are exponentially increased by the people underneath us and behind us. But if you have the wrong people, then they can be crabs that are pulling you down. And these can either be people who are your employees, or they can just be people in your life. I can't even tell you how many times that I have had friends that I know, whether it be friends in law enforcement or friends that I knew from high school or college, who've tried to give me advice on business, but they don't own businesses. They don't run a company, but they're like, "Oh yeah, you got to do this. That's the ticket. This is $1 million idea." Well, you don't own a business. You don't even know how that works. Or they want to judge. I had a couple different people who told me not to run a camp company. They were like, "Don't do that. It's a waste of time. You're never going to make any money. You're never going to compete against the big dogs that are already in the market. Just don't even do it. That's a horrible plan." One of them was someone who didn't own companies and they just were in the cheer industry. And then one was actually someone who was in the cheer industry as an entrepreneur. And both of them were very much wrong, but they weren't doing it. They weren't doing what I wanted to do. They didn't have the life that I wanted. They were the wrong people to be listening to. And I didn't listen to them, luckily. And then I also had people who told me not to get in on the business consulting stuff, not to do next gen. One of them was a family member that I won't necessarily name, who said, "Oh, I don't think that's a good decision. Just focus on the police work side of things," which, okay, great. Like, I loved being a police officer, but I wouldn't be where I was today. And although being a police officer aligned with one of my goals, I accomplished that. And I'm very happy with what I did, but I had other goals. I had other bigger goals that did. So you need to make sure that you're aligning with the right people, you're getting advice from the right people, and you have the right people in your corner. And that is going to make all the difference in getting to where you want to go. Those are the 5 reasons that you are likely struggling right now. And ironically, as a business owner, you may have already accomplished goals a number of times, but you're still struggling about one of them. And it's oftentimes one of these 5 things is the problem, because being a business owner is just a series of new problems coming up. And oftentimes we go back to being distracted or not knowing where we're going or not knowing how to get there. And this is why I continue to pay to have business coaches. This is why I continue to invest in my own education, because it's so easy to get into these 5 things that are struggling. So as you leave the episode, if you're struggling in your business or you're struggling as an entrepreneur, look at these and say, is it one of these 5? Now, maybe it's not. There are other reasons, but these are just the 5 most common and the 5 most commonly reoccurring issues that people encounter that cause them to struggle in their business. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to the episode. And with that, we will catch you on the next one.